What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Sports Muse podcast. I am your host, Kevin Brumley. We're continuing our breakdown of the 32 NFL teams this season, and we've already done half of the AFC West with Kansas City and the Chargers. And today, our next team is the Denver Broncos. This is my co-host, John. John, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. Thanks for having me on again.
Man, no problem at all. So, like I said, we're starting off with Denver. Denver last year, actually, they lost a few close ones. But then Locke came in the last 5 games of the season. They ended up going 4-1 to end the season with Drew Lock, which is interesting because, is that, people were taking them lightly because they weren't a great team? Is that a show into the future? I'm not sure. But let's go into their additions real quick. They made a lot of trades, signed some big-name people. So they got A.J. Bouye, Jarrell Casey, Glasgow, Melvin Gordon, Nick Vanette, and Shelby Harris they re-signed. I really like their additions, to be completely honest with you.
Yes.
So I was just going to say, I think A.J. we forgot about how good A.J. Bouye is. Jalen Ramsey took a lot of the press down in Jacksonville, but he's a solid dude.
Yeah, he held it down. Both of them together just held it down so well. And with Denver already having a solid defense, he's only going to add to that, and they're going to get pressure fast. So I feel like he's definitely going to be a solid addition.
Oh no, I completely agree. And they got both him and Jarrell Casey for pennies on the dollar. The only thing they're eating is I know A.J. Bouye has a pretty big cap hit. But as far as they didn't give up anything to, detrimental to their future, I think they gave up a 4th-round pick, I believe. And then we look at departures. They lost Joe Flacco, which he wasn't playing anyway. They lost 2 offensive linemen with Ronald Leary and McGovern. They did lose Chris Harris and Will Parks. As far as that goes, they did replace, the 2 offensive linemen they lost. They replaced one through free agency. One through the draft that I'll talk about here in a second. Chris Harris was a loss, but with bringing in AJ, I don't think it's if anything, it's probably a little bit of an upgrade.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Is that he's definitely an upgrade. Chris Harris had his moments, but he definitely wasn't the every down corner like AJ Bouye can be.
Yeah, Chris Harris is a solid guy and he's great, but I don't know. Worst case scenario, it's a wash. So I think you take it if you're Denver. As far as draft picks, man, you're gonna find out if Drew Lock's for real because in the first round they get Jerry Jeudy, and then in the second one they get the speedster KJ Hamler. They get Cushenberry, who's the kid who I think is gonna be a plug and play immediately. He's gonna be a day 1 starter. So I like what they did. They attacked the offense, and Drew Lock's gonna have a ton of weapons, which brings me to my biggest question for Denver. Is Drew Lock for real?
Yeah, I think that's it seems like they went all in on him, surrounded him with talent. They just were bringing in receivers, Melvin Gordon, which I think the Melvin Gordon signing was great. I feel like they got him at a discount. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we didn't even cover Melvin Gordon a ton, but Melvin Gordon's the dude that was holding out last year for big money because he was one of the best backs in the league. And like you said, they got him, on the cheap.
Yeah. I think the holdout didn't work out well for him, but I think for Broncos, it worked out. So definitely, he has all the pieces around him. So, he even has, Noah Fant, he seems like he's going to be a great up and coming tight end. So I think definitely if it's not going to be this year for Drew Lock, he has all the chances this year.
Cortland Sutton,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Legitimately, they that's not even counting. They have, Philip Lindsay, which their backfield, someone's going to have to be traded. I don't know. It's too crowded.
Yeah, I feel like that trading Royce Freeman might be the better option. I can see them doing it, but he's probably going to be relegated to maybe a few, third down, a game, not much. Philip Lindsay seems to be way more explosive than he is anyways.
Yeah, it seems like Philip Lindsay fits what Denver's with the 1-2 punch of Melvin Gordon. Philip Lindsay fits, that kind of role better than Royce Freeman's just kind of a downgraded Melvin Gordon. Maybe that's not fair. But no, man, like that team is stacked. If they come out on 11 personnel, that means on the field with Drew Lock would be Melvin Gordon, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, it's young, but
it's young.
But that's it's a great target you want to be thrown to.
Yeah, I mean, another big question is like, I think Jerry Jeudy's one of those guys where, worst case scenario, I think he's kind of like a Sammy Watkins, and like even though Sammy Watkins didn't live up to the hype, Sammy Watkins, everyone was talking about him being the best receiver in the league potentially, but he had a bunch of injuries that kind of derailed him. But you look at what he's doing in Kansas City, he's still doing well, and I feel like that's the same thing for Jerry Jeudy. Like worst case scenario, he's a really solid receiver. KJ Hamler on the other side is either going to be a boom or bust guy. I feel like he's going to be that guy who's like a Deshaun Jackson, who's ripping down the top, making some plays, or he had some inconsistencies this past year in Penn State with some drops. He's small, if he's in a slot and he's off the line, he might get off the jam a little bit better. But he's going to be one of those determining factors. And if Noah Fant can take that next step, because he didn't produce a ton, he started doing a little bit better toward the end of the year. But it's always tough to play as a rookie tight end. And going back to Drew Lock, man, he was 4-1 when he came in, which is impressive. And then just looking at his numbers, he was just a touch over 200 yards per game, which not great. But, if you're managing the game, like whatever. As a rookie, I'm a Steelers fan. You go back to Big Ben when they went 15-1 in that regular season. Ben wasn't doing a ton. He was doing what he needed to do to get W's. The number that was kind of alarming to me was he was 6.5 yards per attempt, which would have ranked 31st in the league. I think that number's going to have to go up with so much, explosion around him. With Sutton's a big play waiting to happen. Judy's a big play waiting to happen. Hamler's a big play waiting to happen. So he's going to have to push it down in the field a little bit. And whether that's a scheme fit or if that's, Joe Flacco's known for checking down. I don't know if that's Drew Lock's kind of MO or if that was just more of like, hey, let's throw intermediate stuff, ball control, and whatnot.
Yeah, it could have been just the way they were treating him his first year, knowing that, they really didn't have a chance to make playoffs. So just see what he had and then just kind of protect him a little bit. But maybe this year they can unleash him more and he will air it out downfield with all these. KJ Hamler, he didn't run a 40, I don't think, but I think he's supposed to be really fast. And so
yeah, I think he's supposed to be like a low and 4.3 guy. Like he's supposed to be high 4.2, low 4.3.
Yeah, so hopefully they let him air it out, and we can really see what his arm is about.
Cross your fingers, he's not John Ross 2.0. As far as just kind of me looking at the team, Drew Lock's only got 5 starts under his belt. The offense, like you alluded to earlier, is very young. 2 new pieces on the O-line. You're going to need a little bit of time to mesh with a condensed off season. To me, more than anything else, I think the defense is going to have to step up big time early. They're going to have some growing pains, and that's part of the game. That's not a slight to anybody on that team. But, once, it's going to take a little bit of time to get rapport. Rookie receivers usually struggle. So I think Cortland Sutton's going to have to play big the first, half of the season. So, if the defense can really hold it down, keep teams to, hopefully under 20, look out, man, because Denver's only going to get stronger as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Rookie receivers do seem to catch on later on in the year. So, but also with this, with the quarantine and everything, not having all these workouts and stuff, is that going to affect them? But I think some teams were holding player mandated workouts. So I'm not sure if they got together or not, but that could be a big difference too. If they got together or not, just how fast they'll clip.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where I don't know the answer, and I don't think it's really been released of how much they were able to do through Zoom as far as implementing playbook stuff and just talking to coaches and other veteran players for some of these young players. So, I really do think it's kind of a wild card as far as what we see from the rookie class this coming year. So, what do you think is the worst case scenario for Denver? What's going to really derail their season?
I definitely think does it start and stop with Drew Lock? Is it going to be if he's firing on all cylinders like he was at the end of last year and can keep up that pace, then, they're going to be solid. But if that was just, somehow fluke, just teams not having much video on him, being able to study him much, and then now they have all this video that they can study over the off season, so maybe they figure him out, or maybe he is a franchise quarterback and can do the real deal. So I think it just starts and stops with him. I'm not a huge Drew Lock fan, but I mean, maybe he has it and he can pressure him through it. But I think the worst case scenario would be him just fluttering and not being able to lead the team much.
Yeah, and I think worst case scenario with Drew Lock, and I think he's kind of an upgrade over Joe Flacco. Like, I understand Joe Flacco is a Super Bowl champion, but he's had like 6 good games in his career. I'm not a real big Joe Flacco fan. So I feel like with all the talent around Drew Lock doesn't need to be Drew Brees. He doesn't need to be Tom Brady. He just needs to manage the game, make a few plays here and there. And very much of like how I compared earlier to when Big Ben came in the league. They have a really good defense. They have talent around him. They have a great running back. Just control the game, throw for 220 a game, and it should set them up. But I agree with you absolutely. It starts and stops with Drew Lock. You know what I mean? The other big part is Von Miller. 30. Do we see Von Miller start to slow down? Because Von Miller didn't have his sack numbers last year. I believe off the top of my head, I think he was at 8.5 last year. But he's always pressuring the quarterback. He's always hurrying the quarterback. Does the interior pressure of, a Jarrell Casey, Harris coming back. Now they have Bradley Chubb back after the knee injury. We haven't even talked about Bradley Chubb. So now you have 2 dynamic rushers coming off the end. I don't know. If Von Miller does slow down, that could hamper the Broncos. I don't expect it. So we'll kind of see. Then let's get to this, man. Where do you see the Broncos finishing in the AFC West, and where do you see their overall 2020 record being?
I have them finishing 3rd. I mean, Kansas City first, then the Chargers, then Denver. I mean, mostly just because, like I said, I'm not a huge Drew Lock fan. But the Raiders, I just think back of the pack. So I just have the Broncos 3rd, and I have them at their final record. I have them staying the same as 7-9. I think that they struggle in the beginning, have a couple losses that they probably should have won, and then towards the end of the season, maybe they start picking it up and pick up the last few wins towards the end of the season again. But I just have them finishing at 7-9.
And I think that's completely fair. I think one thing that kind of helps Denver is they normally have, with being at Mile High, they do normally have a little bit more of a home field advantage than some teams. Maybe not as much as like Arrowhead or up in Seattle and that kind of stuff. They do have a great home crowd. I'm thinking they squeak out a few of those close ones, and I'm saying 10-6, man. But I could easily see 7-9, 6-10. But I think 10-6 is the high end of it, and that's what I'm going with. Since the draft, I've been kind of thinking of Denver as that sleeper playoff team this year.
Okay.
They always play Kansas City tough. Even when they've been not great over the past few years, they've played KC tough.
Mm-hmm.
So they might be able to steal 1 from KC. They might be able to steal 2 from KC, which no one would be expecting. And those are the games that take you from a 7-9 to a 10-6. So, with 10-6, I see them getting one of those 3 wildcard spots since the league's been expanded. I do see them making the playoffs. Now, that's when it's a different ball game. And I think that's when the inexperience will catch up. And I don't see them making a whole lot of noise in the playoffs. But I do see that this young team on offense coming in, making the playoffs, just getting a taste of it. That's kind of my prediction for the 2020 season.
Yeah, and I think they have to look at it like if they do make playoffs, that would be a successful season.
Oh, absolutely.
With how many people they'd be bringing back, all the how young everyone is, you can only build on that and then bring more people in. So I definitely think if they even just squeak in the playoffs, that's definitely a successful season.
I would 100% agree. And a parting shot is I'm going to go back to Von Miller, man. So I talked about what Von Miller has left, but let's talk about what Von Miller's done. So Von Miller's been in the league for 9 years. And if you take every pass rusher since they started the sack stats in 1982. Okay, Von Miller is tied 5th all time in the first 9 years of his career in sacks, and he's tied with a pretty good sack artist in Bruce Smith. So let's show this dude some love because I feel like he's getting with all the Khalil Mack when he got traded, and Khalil Mack's amazing, and then with Aaron Donald, being a multiple-time defensive player of the year. I just feel like we've kind of quieted down on Von Miller some, and just appreciate what this dude's done. You know, if you're not a Denver fan, just appreciate the greatness that is Von Miller.
Oh, I agree. And I think towards the beginning of his career when Manning was there, that he kind of overshadowed Von Miller when he was in Denver, and he didn't get the love just because it was every time Denver did anything, it was all Peyton Manning.
Sure.
But, I mean, and then now, like, maybe his numbers dropped a little bit. But, yeah, I definitely think he's definitely one of the best sack artists in the game.
Yeah, he's going to be – I mean, I think even if his career ended today, he's a Hall of Famer. Over 100 sacks, you know, Super Bowl MVP. Now he's got to be a Hall of Famer already, so let's show this dude some love. But that is it. If you guys like the episode, please click like and subscribe. You know, give us a thumbs up, drop a comment, yada, yada, yada. And check out some of our other season predictions, and we'll see you guys next time.